What is leftism? The dictionary defines it as, quote, the people and groups who advocate liberal, often radical measures to effect changes in the established order, especially in politics, usually to achieve the equality, freedom, and well-being of the common citizens of a state. Or per Wikipedia, quote, leftists claim that human development flourishes when individuals engage in cooperative, mutually respectful relations that can thrive only when excessive differences in status, power, and wealth are eliminated. According to leftists, a society without substantial equality will distort the development of not only deprived persons, but also those whose privileges undermine their motivation and sense of social responsibility. This suppression of human development, together with the resentment and conflict engendered by sharp class distinctions, will ultimately reduce the efficiency of the economy. End quote. Taking these definitions to be sufficient of all derivations of leftism, progressives, social liberals, social democrats, socialists, communists, anarchists, etc., then leftism is necessarily anti-competitive, as competition by definition produces inequality. And to be for the elimination of, quote, excessive differences, and to advocate, quote, a society without substantial equality, as defined previously, is still, albeit nonsensically, anti-competitive. The nature of competition is the existence of rival differences which tautologically create inequality amongst them, if these differences weren't defined as unequal by the definition of being different to begin with. Competition itself is amoral, or does a fact, such as the sky being blue, have a moral value? Thus, the belief that competition ought to be different than what it is, such as through moralization, e.g., a society without substantial equality will distort its development, is to be opposed to what it is. Having clarified that leftism is necessarily anti-competitive, the realization that leftism is self-contradictory is now clear. An argument, theory, belief, or ideological position which is anti-competitive invalidates its presupposition for existing, rendering it logically inconsistent through this contradiction. I'll reiterate. An argument, theory, belief, or ideological position which is anti-competitive invalidates its presupposition for existing, rendering it logically inconsistent through contradiction. In other words, an argument, theory, belief, etc. presupposes a competitive nature for which it is a participant in. This is simply because the nature of discourse supposes that to put forth an ideal, and certainly one of a political nature such as leftism, is to have it rival or contend with pre-existing ideas, i.e., thinking does not exist in a vacuum. This is not to say a belief is necessarily put forth with the intent to contend with a pre-existing belief. It is to say, though, that if thoroughly scrutinized, every belief can be reduced to its fragments, which will necessarily expose opposition to the fragments of another belief. Otherwise, differences in beliefs would be non-existent, as beliefs would be all identical, i.e., equal. Thus, the necessary and sufficient supposition for any belief is its competition for preeminence, and it is this supposition of competitiveness which leftism abides by and, by definition, contradicts.